Please welcome the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali.
On January 7th, 1942, amidst global instability, a future icon breathed his first breath in a world struggling with the turbulence of war and societal shifts. Cassius Marcellus Clay Junior, later known as Muhammad Ali, started his quest to become the greatest boxer in history.
And show them all that I'm the real one.
From the segregated neighborhoods of Louisville, Kentucky. But how did this adventure take place? Let's take a look at the early years and remarkable ascent of a guy who would change sports and activism.
Hey, the gang's all here.
Early years and rise to fame. Cassius Marcellus Clay Junior, who would later be known as Muhammad Ali, the famous boxer, was born on January 17, 1942, in Louisville, Kentucky. When he was born, there was a lot of fighting happening all over the world, and people were not getting along well at home either. But it was in this place that Clay's strong spirit and incredible talent first showed up. Ali had a pretty interesting childhood growing up in a time when things were pretty unfair in the United States. He lived in a neighborhood where racial division was a part of everyday life. His dad, Cassius Marcellus Clay Sr., was a sign and billboard painter. He was a happy guy when he wasn't drinking, but alcohol made him act mean. His mom, Odessa Grady Clay, was a super hardworking lady who sometimes did domestic work to help her family. When Clay was just 12 years old, he stumbled upon boxing after his favorite red and white Schwinn bike got swiped. Talk about a sad loss. Clay was really mad and promised to teach the thief a lesson. Joe Martin, a police officer and boxing coach, was really interested in this declaration. "Hey Clay, Martin thinks it would be a good idea for you to learn how to box before getting back at someone. Sounds like a fun challenge." Clay's unexpected encounter sparked his love for boxing, a sport that would soon consume his entire being. With Martin's help, Clay became an awesome boxer in no time. He was super committed. Every morning he'd wake up early and race the bus to boost his speed and stamina. He got really good at boxing and started winning a bunch of fights and getting lots of titles. When Clay was just 14, he won his very first Golden Gloves championship in the light heavyweight class. Pretty impressive, right? His boxing style was really cool for a heavyweight. He was super fast and used fancy footwork and quick jabs to outsmart his opponents. He started showing off his charming personality, both inside and outside the ring. Clay wasn't just a fighter, he was a real showman. He loved to taunt his opponents with poetic words and make predictions about his fights. It became one of his trademarks. Clay's time as an amateur reached its highest point when he rocked the 1960 Summer Olympics in Rome. Even though he was scared of flying, he went to Italy and ended up winning the gold medal in the light heavyweight category.
All the authorities wrong for giving my title to a pretender.
Pretty impressive, huh? Wow. His Olympic win was a total game changer. Not only did he score a gold medal, but he also became a big deal nationwide. This win wasn't just about sports. It brought hope and inspiration to African Americans fighting against unfair racial segregation. When Ali came back home after winning the Olympics, he sadly had to deal with unfair treatment because of his race. Guess what? He chucked his gold medal into the Ohio River because some dumb restaurant wouldn't serve him just because of his skin color. Can you believe it? Even with all his success, he still had to deal with that kind of nonsense. Champion of the world triumphs and controversies. Muhammad Ali went from a talented young boxer to a world champion really fast, and it was pretty exciting. His journey completely changed boxing and shook up society's expectations, making his story a part of 20th century history. After winning the Olympics, Ali's pro career skyrocketed at an amazing speed. He became famous for his one-of-a-kind style in the ring, known for his amazing speed, agility, and his catchy float like a butterfly, sting like a bee strategy. He was a real dancing dynamo in a division full of slow and strong fighters. In 1964, Ali faced off against Sonny Liston, the reigning heavyweight champion. Liston was a tough guy with a strong punch and a scary demeanor. But Ali, not scared of Liston's reputation, used his well-known mind games, openly teasing Liston and saying he would win. Wow, Ali pulled off an amazing upset by beating Liston and becoming the youngest boxer ever to snatch the heavyweight title from a reigning champion. Talk about a knockout. This win wasn't just about sports. It showed that Ali was a big deal in the civil rights movement. After beating Liston, Ali surprised everyone by embracing Islam and joining the Nation of Islam. The morning after defeating Liston, the new heavyweight champion confirmed reports that he had become a member of the Nation of Islam. With Malcolm X at his side, the champ told reporters that he had renounced his surname, which he called his slave name, and would be known as Cassius X, until Nation of Islam leader Elijah Muhammad gave him a holy name. That name, Muhammad Ali, was bestowed on March 6, 1964. This caused quite a stir and got people talking. He decided to switch his name from Cassius Clay, which he considered his slave name, to Muhammad Ali, a name bestowed upon him by his spiritual mentor, Elijah Muhammad. Ali's transformation and new name were a big deal during a time when there was a lot of tension around race in the United States. Ali's association with the Nation of Islam, which supports black empowerment and opposes white supremacy, made him a key figure in social and political discussions. He stood tall and proud, capturing the hearts of African Americans who saw him as a powerful symbol of strength and defiance. But Ali's most talked about moment happened in 1967. When he said no to joining the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War. He did this because of his religious beliefs and his opposition to the war. His famous words, "I ain't got no quarrel with them." Viet Cong became a powerful slogan for the anti-war movement and made him even more of a social activist. Because he said no, Ali got arrested, found guilty of avoiding the draft, and lost his boxing titles. He was looking at 5 years in prison, but he got to stay out while they appealed the conviction. Pretty lucky, huh? Ali's boxing license got suspended, so he took a break from fighting for almost 4 years when he was at the top of his game. Bummer. Ali had a tough time during this period. It hit him hard in the wallet and also hurt his reputation as a boxer. But it also made him a cool symbol of standing up against the Vietnam War and unfairness. Ali's conviction got overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court in 1971, and he made a comeback to the ring. He made an epic return with 2 legendary boxing matches, the fight of the century against Joe Frazier in 1971, and the Rumble in the Jungle against George Foreman in 1974. Ali got beat by Frazier at first, but then he came back strong and shocked everyone by beating Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle. He became the champ again. Ali used a clever strategy called the rope-a-dope. He let Foreman exhaust himself before making his move and ended up winning by knockout in the 8th round. Seeking to generate positive publicity for his country, Zaire's dictatorial president Mobutu Sese Seko paid each fighter $5 million to stage the fight in his capital city of Kinshasa. In order for American audiences to watch the fight live in prime time, the bout began in the early morning hours before the sun dawned on Africa. In what was dubbed the Rumble in the Jungle, Ali won in an 8-round knockout to regain the heavyweight title that had been stripped from him 7 years prior. It was a risky but effective plan. Ali's win showed how awesome he was at boxing. He was super skilled, smart, and never gave up. The fighter outside the ring political stances and convictions. Muhammad Ali was an amazing boxer, but he also made a big difference beyond the ring. Ali was a big deal in the 60s and 70s. He had strong opinions about politics and was involved in the civil rights and anti-war movements. Some people didn't always agree with him, but he made a name for himself. In 1964, Ali became a Muslim and changed his name. This was just the beginning of his many actions showing his dedication to racial and religious matters. Ali joined the Nation of Islam, a group that supported black empowerment and self-reliance. He spoke up for the rights of African Americans. Being friends with cool people like Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad made him even more famous as a social activist. Ali's decision to convert went beyond just a personal religious choice. It was a bold political statement, a way of saying no to the unfair racism that existed in American society. Ali really didn't like the Vietnam War and made a big fuss about it. In 1966, when things were getting intense, Ali decided he didn't want to fight anymore. He said his religion didn't allow it. His famous quote, "I don't have any problem with those Viet Cong guys," really struck a chord with the increasing number of people who were against the war in the United States. In 1967, Ali said no to joining the U.S. Army, which got him in trouble and he was found guilty of avoiding the draft. As a result, he couldn't box for 3.5 years and lost all his titles. While he couldn't box, Ali took the opportunity to visit colleges and public forums where he shared his thoughts on racial injustice, war, and religious freedom. His stubborn position had serious consequences for him, both in his career and his wallet, but it also turned him into a symbol of defiance and honesty. Ali's actions were super inspiring to a lot of people, especially in the African American community and those who were against the Vietnam War. He proved that athletes aren't just entertainers, but can also have a big impact on society and politics. Ali's conviction was later overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court in 1971, which was a big win both legally and morally. He made a big comeback in boxing, but the time he spent fighting legal battles and protesting the war really affected his career. But Ali's actions at that time made him a true champion for the underdogs, and a voice for those who couldn't speak up. During his 43-month forced exile from the ring, Ali took to the stage in the title role of the musical Buck White. The production opened inside New York's George Abbott Theater on December 2, 1969. But Ali's stage career would be a brief one. Buck White closed 4 nights later after just 7 performances. In spite of the limited run, Ali, who played a militant black lecturer, received decent reviews. He sings with a pleasant, slightly impersonal voice, acts without embarrassment, and moves with innate dignity, wrote a New York Times reviewer. He does himself proud. Ali was really into politics, and he didn't just stick to the United States. He traveled all over the world as a peace and human rights ambassador, meeting with leaders and spreading the message of understanding and cultural exchange. He traveled to places like Iraq and North Korea, sometimes to help bring back American hostages. It showed how much he cared about helping people. Even as he fought Parkinson's disease, Ali stayed dedicated to social and political causes. He really cared about Parkinson's research and spent a lot of time helping others. He was there at the 1996 Atlanta Olympic Games, lighting the cauldron during the opening ceremony. It was a really cool moment that showed how important it is to never give up and come together as one. In 2005, Ali got a really cool award called the Presidential Medal of Freedom. It's like the highest honor you can get in the United States.
He's one of the greatest of all times. I said, you all are wrong. This man is nothing.
Return to the ring comebacks and challenges. In 1970, Muhammad Ali made a big comeback to boxing. It was the start of an exciting new chapter in his career, with lots of amazing comebacks and tough challenges. This period was a real testament to Ali's never-give-up attitude, and really proved that he's one of the all-time boxing greats. Ali made his comeback in October 1970 against Jerry Quarry after being away for 3.5 years. It was quite a long break. People had doubts about his form and fitness, but Ali proved them wrong by winning the fight in a convincing way. He showed that he still had the speed, skill, and charisma that made him a champion. Wow, this win wasn't just a comeback. It was like a superhero defeating all the challenges thrown at him. In March 1971, Ali went up against Joe Frazier in a fight that everyone called the fight of the century. It was a big deal. The match was going to be a real banger. Both fighters were unbeaten and fighting for the heavyweight title. It was going to go down in boxing history. The fight at Madison Square Garden was totally awesome. Frazier and Ali had an intense fight for 15 rounds, and in the end, Frazier came out on top, giving Ali his first loss as a pro. The fight was a real showdown, capturing the fierce competition between the two fighters. Wow, Ali really bounced back after that loss. It was pretty impressive. After winning a bunch of matches against tough opponents, he was all set for a rematch with Frazier in 1974. Ali won the fight and then went on to have another famous match against George Foreman in 1974. Ali took on the seemingly unbeatable George Foreman, a powerful puncher who had crushed Frazier and was expected to beat Ali. But Ali had a clever plan called the rope-a-dope. He leaned against the ropes and let Foreman wear himself out with useless punches. In the 8th round, a tired Foreman got knocked down by Ali's quick counterattacks, and Ali became the heavyweight champion again in a surprising upset. Ali's win showed how smart and strong he was. Ali's later fights were really something.
Pouring water on it smoking. This might shock and amaze you, but I will retire Joe Frazier.
Take his third match with Frazier in the Thrilla in Manila in 1975, for example. It was a real test of Ali's determination and ability to overcome tough challenges. Man, the Thrilla in Manila was one intense fight. Both fighters took a beating, no doubt about it. Ali was declared the winner when Frazier's corner decided to end the fight in the 14th round. Ali came out on top. This match is considered one of the best in boxing history and a great example of Ali's unbeatable determination. But all those later fights really wore Ali down. His style used to be all about speed and agility, but now it's more about staying put, enduring hits, and taking it all in. One reason for this change was because he's getting older and has been working for a really long time. But Ali didn't give up. He kept on fighting and defended his title many more times. In 1978, Ali went up against Leon Spinks, who had just 7 professional fights and was an Olympic gold medalist. Guess what? Spinks pulled off a huge surprise and beat Ali. But don't worry, Ali got his revenge and became the first 3-time heavyweight champion later that year. Wow, Ali really nailed it with this victory, although it seemed like his best years were already in the rearview mirror. Ali had his last fights in 1980 against Larry Holmes and in 1981 against Trevor Berbick. They were the last ones he had before retiring. Ali got beat up pretty bad by Holmes, who used to be his sparring partner. The fight against Berbick was his final one, but unfortunately, he didn't come out on top, and that's it. Ali called it quits after this big fight, wrapping up a career that lasted a whopping 2 decades. Legacy and influence beyond boxing. Muhammad Ali was more than just a boxer. His impact goes way beyond the ring. He's had a huge impact on sports, culture, politics, and social justice, leaving a lasting impression on the world. He's become a legendary figure of the 20th century. Ali was an amazing boxer, but what made him even more special was his awesome personality, way with words, and strong beliefs. He wasn't just a sportsman, cost him personally. His bravery turned him into a hero for lots of people, and a symbol of standing up against unfairness. Ali had a huge impact on other athletes. He changed the game by being more than just a sports star. He spoke up about important issues and made a difference. His example motivated lots of athletes to use their fame to talk about things they care about. From the powerful fists of Tommy Smith and John Carlos at the 1968 Olympic Games to the more recent activism of figures like Colin Kaepernick, it's clear that Ali's legacy of athlete activism is strong. Ali had a huge impact on politics, but his influence on culture was even bigger. He was so clever and funny, with his sassy comebacks and flashy fashion, that everyone in the media loved him. He was one of the early athletes who knew how to use TV and media to grow his brand and share his message. Ali had a big impact on music, literature, and film. People often mentioned him as a symbol of strength and rebellion. His incredible life story has been turned into books, documentaries, and even a movie called Ali, where Will Smith played him. Ali did a lot of good for others, which was really important. Even though he had Parkinson's disease for a long time, he still focused on helping others by supporting many charities, like the Muhammad Ali Parkinson's Center. He did some really cool stuff with the Make-A-Wish Foundation and as a United Nations messenger of peace. He was all about promoting understanding and respect between different cultures. Total humanitarian hero. His philanthropic work is a shining example of his caring heart and his drive to make the world a better place. Ali was really awesome as a global ambassador for peace and reconciliation. It was a big deal. He went to different countries, sometimes on nice missions, to spread understanding and peace. In 1990, he went to Iraq to help free American hostages. He also did a lot to help in North Korea. These are just a couple of examples of how much he cared about helping people all around the world. Ali had a big impact on religion and spirituality too. His decision to embrace Islam and promote religious acceptance had a big impact on raising awareness and understanding of the Muslim faith in America. He became a cool symbol of the different religions in America and helped people talk about and respect each other's beliefs.
He don't know how to lean back like I do. He don't know how to move. He got hit, and he don't have enough common sense to say, I'm hit.
Hey guys, before we move on, it is time for our subscribers pick for today. I bet you didn't know this about Muhammad Ali. Did you know that after graduating high school, the 18-year-old fighter traveled to Rome and won the light heavyweight gold medal in the 1960 Summer Olympics? Ali wrote in his 1975 autobiography that after returning to Louisville, he threw his gold medal off a bridge and into the Ohio River to protest the racism that he still encountered in his hometown. However, the account has been disputed, and it is believed that Ali lost the medal instead. Okay, let's just assume you are aware of that. Now, what about the real cause of his Parkinson's disease? Is it because of his boxing career or another reason entirely? Maryam Ali, the daughter of the fighter's second wife, Khalila Ali, was very close to her father. She suggested that fighting alone doesn't cause Parkinson's. According to her, you can't prove that that's the cause because a lot of boxers don't have Parkinson's. I believe it might have been a combination of head trauma from boxing and pesticides. This man lived quite a great life. The day Muhammad Ali died was indeed sorrowful for all. Okay guys, I would love to hear your opinion on all these in the comments section. The final bell, Muhammad Ali's last days. The twilight years of Muhammad Ali's life were marked by both reverence and reflection, as the world gradually prepared to bid farewell to one of its greatest sporting icons and humanitarians. Despite the physical challenges he faced, Ali's spirit remained unbroken, epitomizing the resilience and courage that defined his life. Ali's battle with Parkinson's disease, diagnosed in 1984, 3 years after his retirement from boxing, was perhaps his toughest opponent. The disease, likely exacerbated by years of repeated blows in the ring, gradually impaired his motor skills and speech. Yet, Ali faced Parkinson's with the same fighting spirit he had shown in the ring and in his activism. He became an advocate for Parkinson's research and worked to raise awareness about the disease, showing the world that his illness did not define his spirit or his capacity to make a difference. Even as his health declined, Ali continued to participate in public life. One of the most poignant moments came during the 1996 Atlanta Olympics, when he lit the Olympic cauldron, shaking but determined. Ali's appearance was a powerful symbol of perseverance and strength, a moment that moved millions around the world and underscored his status as a global icon. Ali's final years were also a time of widespread recognition and accolades. He received numerous awards that celebrated his contributions both inside and outside the boxing ring. In 2005, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor in the United States, by President George W. Bush. This recognition was a testament to his impact as an athlete, a humanitarian, and an activist. Despite his illness, Ali remained committed to his humanitarian work. He continued to support various charitable causes and made public appearances to help raise funds and awareness for different organizations. His commitment to helping others, particularly those suffering from illnesses and poverty, remained unwavering. Ali's influence on sports, civil rights, and global humanitarian efforts continued to be felt in his final days. He was not just celebrated as a former heavyweight champion, but as a man who had used his fame to fight for justice, tolerance, and peace. His legacy was reflected in the countless lives he touched and the people he inspired. As his health deteriorated, Ali was surrounded by his loving family. His fourth wife, Lonnie, whom he married in 1986, was a constant presence and caregiver. His children, some of whom followed in his footsteps in sports and public life, were also a source of comfort and support. To the world, Muhammad Ali was the brash and buoyant heavyweight fighter bestowed with many monikers: the Floating Butterfly, the Louisville Lip, the Greatest. To Maryam Ali, the eldest of the boxer's 9 children, he was all of the above, she said. But he was also a teacher, a spiritual guide. Above all, he was dad. Maryam Ali, the daughter of the fighter's second wife, Khalila Ali, was very close to her father. She would regularly drive from her home in Los Angeles to visit him at his home in Arizona, she said. The day Muhammad Ali died, on June 3, 2016, at the age of 74, was met with global mourning. Tributes poured in from around the world, from fans, celebrities, athletes, and world leaders. They spoke not only of his prowess in the boxing ring, but of his courage, humanity, and the indelible mark he left on the world. His passing was seen not just as the loss of a great athlete, but as the end of an era. Ali's funeral in his hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, was a fitting tribute to his life. It was a multi-faith service that reflected his own beliefs in peace and inclusivity. Thousands lined the streets to pay their respects, and notable figures from various sectors spoke of his impact on their lives and the world. The service was broadcast globally, allowing millions to participate in the farewell to a man who had become a global symbol of resilience and hope. Ali, the cultural phenomenon. Muhammad Ali wasn't just a boxer. He was a total cultural sensation. He had a huge impact, not just in the ring, but also on fashion, language, music, and even the civil rights movement. Pretty cool, huh? Ali was an amazing person who was really good at sports, had a great sense of humor, and cared about important issues. He became famous not just for his athletic skills, but for being an inspiration to many people. Ever since he made his grand entrance, Ali stood out from the crowd. His flashy self-promotion and bold fight predictions were game changers in a sport known for its seriousness and toughness. He really knew how to put on a show in the boxing ring, entertaining the crowd with his clever rhymes and predictions. Sayings like "float like a butterfly," "sting like a bee" became super popular, showing how he influenced language and culture. Ali's fashion sense was super cool and totally fearless, just like his boxing and how he presented himself to the world. He always rocked flashy suits, vibrant colors and shades, totally shaking up the typical boxer look. His style was like a mirror of who he was, bold, rebellious, and totally unique. Ali had a big impact on fashion, even with his boxing gear. The cool white trunks he liked to wear became super famous in the sport. Ali's impact was definitely felt in the world of music. He He was a big inspiration for many musicians and artists. They saw him as someone who stood up for what he believed in and never gave up. People wrote songs about him, and he even made an album of his spoken poetry, showing off his cool mix of fun and making a difference. Hanging out with big music stars like Sam Cooke made him even more famous and cool. Ali played a big part in the civil rights movement. It was pretty important. He lived during the same time as Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. and became a significant voice in the fight for racial equality. When he said no to being drafted into the Vietnam War, a lot of people who were against the war really liked that and thought of him as a leader for civil rights. Ali's decision to become a Muslim and change his name were courageous expressions of his identity and beliefs, shaking things up in America. The media had a big part in shaping Ali's cultural impact. It was pretty important, you know? He had a complicated relationship with journalists and broadcasters. Sometimes he was charming, other times he was confrontational. It was quite a roller coaster. His interviews were super entertaining, packed with jokes, deep thoughts, and sometimes a little drama. Ali knew that TV and media could influence what people thought, so he cleverly used them to get people interested in the things he cared about. Ali was loved all around the world, and he even became a cultural ambassador. People all over the world knew and adored him, not only for his boxing skills, but also because he stood up against injustice. His fights were big deals all around the world, and when he went places, it was sometimes to help with important stuff like getting people out of trouble in Iraq or going to North Korea. Ali was really good at making friends with people from different cultures and countries, which was pretty amazing for an athlete back then. Ali's life story has captivated people in movies and books. Many documentaries and biographies have been made about him, diving into his interesting life and career and how he influenced society. The movie Ali with Will Smith introduced his story to a whole new audience, highlighting both his victories and challenges. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more.